Hello, my name is Paul Schrader. I'm running for sheriff in San Bernardino County. Our election is in June of 2014. I believe this is going to be one of the most important races in San Bernardino County in years. Due to the fact that in the last few decades we've had appointed sheriffs, and it's time to elect a sheriff, not select a sheriff, by a few Board of Supervisors. So in 2014, please come out and vote for me, Paul Schrader. First of all, I'd like to tell you about what is the office of sheriff, what is the sheriff, and what should the sheriff do? Well, the sheriff is a chief law enforcement officer for the county. It's a constitutional position, and the sheriff, two functions, should be defending the Constitution and upholding the rights of the people. When you look at a sheriff, if the sheriff is doing these two functions, everything else will just fall in line. I truly believe in upholding the Constitution. What's that mean? It means to look and do the things the Constitution says and basically uphold it and keep your oath. And to defend the rights of the people, that's exactly what it means. Make sure their rights are defended. And that, as a sheriff, is one thing that you really need to be looking at and making sure that it's being done by the guys and girls in the field. I've been married to Judy for 25 years. I've got 5 children. I have 30 years as a peace officer. I've owned 3 businesses. Now, with that said, for the last 15 years, I've been in administrative functions in one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the world. I've been a supervisor in a risk analysis team, in a legal unit. I have a lot of administrative abilities, and I truly believe with my background I can run the Sheriff's Department. And I'll also bring other people to help me that are experts in different fields so that we can make sure that you're getting the most bang out of your buck. And truly, any business person would understand this, because having to make a payroll and to make sure that your business is running properly, I know a lot of people lose sleep over that. And I know whenever I've owned the different businesses that I've had, I actually had to make payrolls, I had to make sure my bills were paid, and we need to make sure we're not overspending the people's money. We have a $500 million budget for the Sheriff's Department. We have 1,700 deputies, we have nearly 2,000 professional staff, 2,000 volunteers. Now, that's a big size agency, and we have one of the biggest counties in the United States, 22,000 square miles, 2.2 million people, and it gives us a logistical problem in some of the areas. Now, when we look at the budget and look at the problems we're having in the county, first of all, I want to talk about Adelanto jail expansion. When we looked into this expansion, right now there's $25 million overspent on that project, and it's still not completed. So if you understand, they've overspent $25 million. And once the completion of the project is done, if it's completed, it has to be staffed, which is going to cost $32 million. Now, neither one of these items have been budgeted. So if it's completed and they can't staff it, the state has already said they will take the facility back. This is mismanagement, it's poor business, and let me tell you right now, if in your household you overspent $32,000 and someone wanted to come take your house back, that's what's going to happen. I truly believe that we need to make sure that anytime any money's spent, any projects we have, it has to be budgeted. The Sheriff's Department has never budgeted for overtime, yet they spend overtime every year. We have to make sure that if we are going to spend overtime money, it's already in the budget. We're not pulling it from the general fund. Again, that is mismanagement when it comes to the budget. Another thing is we're going to do a complete audit of the Sheriff's Department. I want to know where every dime is being spent. If our helicopters are being misused, if our boats are being misused, If any of the property that the Sheriff's Department has is being misused and it's being used for personal business, we're going to stop that. You know, right now I have pictures that have been sent to me where people have been using the sheriff's helicopter for joyriding. We've brought it to the administration's, we've brought it to the administration, and I don't think anything's been done. And I truly believe any kind of mismanagement, any kind of spending in this county, we need to make sure it's done for the people's business. So when it comes to the budget, I want to make sure that we have the spending under control. We have $30 million in lawsuits that we've spent this year in 2013, and the year's not over. There's other lawsuits and litigation that's going on in the county right now. I believe that lawsuits, some of them are frivolous and some of them are not. But we need to think outside the box. And why isn't the current administration looking outside the box? I don't know. And that's one of my big questions. Why is status quo okay? Why is it okay to continue going down that same road when you're spending tons of our money on lawsuits? Now, my proposal and one of my policy changes are going to be immediately whenever I come in office, we're going to start purchasing flex cameras. What is a flex camera? A flex camera is a small camera worn on a deputy's uniform who works patrol. It picks up audio and visual of every contact this person has. If someone makes a complaint, basically it's either going to exonerate or take the deputy down the different path. So we need to make sure that we have all the deputies wearing these cameras. What it's going to do, and it's a fact, other agencies that use these cameras, it's cut litigation and complaints by 80%. It's a no-brainer. It's going to pay for itself as soon as we put them on the deputies. We've got to have cameras on our deputy sheriffs to protect them and to protect the public. If we do have problems going on out there, this is going to cut it down by 80%. And that's one thing I'm going to do. You know, everything that the Constitution, to me, hinges on is that Second Amendment. It gives us the opportunity to defend ourselves from the tyranny of the federal government. People don't realize this. A lot of people believe the Second Amendment gives us the right to protect ourselves, you know, in our homes and from criminals and things of that nature. But it's to protect us from the tyranny of the federal government. And really what I want to do is make sure that as long as you're not a felon and you're not mentally ill, you have the opportunity to get a carry concealed weapon permit. In the state of California, the sheriff has the authority to grant a carry concealed weapon permit. And in this county, it's considered pretty liberal of handing them out. But in a county of 2,200,000 people, we have 3,000 that have been issued. Now, I think that's pretty poor. And I believe what we need to do is make that process a lot quicker. The process now, it takes a year to a year and a half, and there's a possibility you still won't get one. So what we need to do is we need to expedite that process. I've been working with different attorneys and different gun rights groups to be able to make that process, hopefully, should be able to do it within a month. There's no reason to send investigators out to your house unless there's a red flag that comes up in your initial part of your background. There shouldn't be a reason to send people to your employment. We need to just make sure you're not a felon. I want to make this county as close to a shall issue county that I can, because I do believe in your right to carry. This county is too big for you not to have the right to have a concealed weapon. And you know what? The police can't be there to protect you. I've gone to too many crimes to where you're the victim. And I would rather go to a crime where you've been able to protect yourself and it never happened. The sheriff, the appointed sheriff we have in now, the first thing he did when he came in office, he had a gun buyback. I believe a gun buyback is the worst thing you can ever do. It was the first one we've had in this county, very historic. He was very proud of that. I went out and protested the gun buyback. We took a federal firearm license dealer out there with us, and we purchased guns from people sitting in line. People in the line weren't thugs. They were old people afraid, and they were selling their guns to the sheriff they were giving them food coupons for like 50 to 100 bucks for guns that were worth a lot more. And then in turn, they took the guns and melted them down. They also used Prop 30 money, which was supposed to have been meant for the schools to purchase these guns. So they took Prop 30 money, they bought food coupons, and then gave them to the elderly who were turning in guns for those guns. Totally disagree with this. I think it gets people in a mindset that they need to bring their guns to the government agencies and turn them in. Keep your guns. If you want to sell your gun, I tell people, take it to a pawn shop, take it to a gun dealer, take it to a friend, and go down and make sure that you sell it in a way prescribed by law. But don't take it to one of these ridiculous gun buybacks that the appointed sheriff right now has had. One of the most discriminated groups that we have in this county, and anywhere in the United States, I would say, are the mentally ill. People that are mentally ill, basically to me, are treated differently than most people whenever it comes to patrol and in the jails. And I have the opportunity to change that. People that are mentally ill, to me, I consider them just like anyone with any other kind of disease, illness. They take medication most of the time. It takes care of the problem. It'd be like if someone was a diabetic. They just need to take their medication so they're okay. Well, what happens is we deal with mentally ill people out in patrol, and they're doing something that is causing a disturbance, possibly breaking the law. A deputy comes there, and normally they will arrest the person, take them to jail. Once they're in jail, they're deemed to have some kind of mental problem. They'll be put in a ward for the mentally ill, and then they'll go to court and they'll have a hearing to find out if they are mentally ill. Well, what I want to do on the very front end is if we have a deputy that has a contact with a mentally ill person, I'm going to start what's called basically it's going to be a mental illness team, and it will be a deputy and a clinician that will be out on patrol together. The deputy is going to receive special training on how to deal with mentally ill suspects, and we'll have a clinician that deals with nothing but mentally ill people. And they will go to any of these calls where there's a deputy out and has a mentally ill person, or if there's a call for law enforcement to go and deal with someone that's mentally ill. And this team will be trained. It'll be just a clinician and a deputy, and they will be used as support staff for patrol functions. It will make sure that the deputies in patrol don't have to spend all their time dealing with someone mentally ill, where the clinician and deputy on the mental illness team or the mental evaluation team will be able to come in, evaluate the situation. Might be a possibility that this person can be taken directly to one of our mental hospitals, or possibly get a family member to come help them. But we want to make sure that the mentally ill, especially that we're dealing with in the street, get the opportunity to get help instead of just throwing them into a jail. Well, we need a jail space for our hardcore criminals. We don't need to be putting mentally ill people in there. I'm not saying that we're not going to arrest mentally ill people committing crimes. I'm saying that we're going to be helping more and keeping our jail spaces open for hardened criminals. I think this is going to help. I think it's the right thing to do. I think that if you've got a mentally ill relative, friend, you'll agree with me. I have a heart for the mentally ill. Now, same thing in the jails. We're going to have mental evaluation teams in there too, to make sure that anytime we have mentally ill inmates in there, which we do, and we have floors that hold the mentally ill, I just want to make sure they're getting proper care. And I want all the deputies in all the jails to be trained in how to deal with mentally ill people. First of all, this is going to take, again, litigation away from us that we've had in the past and we're having now, because sometimes a deputy might not realize that this person's mentally ill and they're acting out, and they have to use some type of force where if we did realize they were mentally ill, we had specialized training and a specialized unit of people to walk in and help defuse the situation. We wouldn't have the problems that we're having now. So when I talk about mental illness and helping the mentally ill, it's not that I'm just going to put aside any kind of criminal charges. What I'm saying is I'm going to make sure they're provided with the help that they need. I am talking with some of the psychiatrists and psychologists right now that work with the mentally ill in this county and with the county government. And we are working and formulating some plans that I want to present to our department once I'm elected so that we don't have these problems. We have a lot of veterans coming home right now that are having problems. And it has to do with mental illness. They're having problems coping. And I want to make sure that they don't get wrapped up in our system and going to jail for things. I want to make sure that we can provide them the help that they need. If you've followed me very long or you know anything about me, you know that I am against DUI checkpoints. And people say, wow, I can't believe that you would be against those. Well, I believe it's against the Fourth Amendment to have a DUI checkpoint. When I talk about DUI checkpoints, I always talk about the Fourth Amendment because as a peace officer, I have to have probable cause to pull you over. And that means I have to have some kind of violation that you've done on the roadway. I pull you over, and then if you're drunk, then I arrest you. At a DUI roadblock, basically they're just pulling people in. They call it an administrative stop. I don't see anywhere in the Constitution, and people will tell me, the courts have upheld this. A lot of courts are overturning this. A lot of states are actually no longer having DUI checkpoints because they're being sued. Our county gets sued too, you just don't hear about the lawsuits. A lot of cases are thrown out, again, because probable cause situations are arising. So what I want to do is I want to change the DUI checkpoints to DUI saturation patrols. Now, one thing about the DUI checkpoints, they'll stop 1,000 people, they'll arrest 3 drunk drivers, and they'll violate the rights of 997 people. That's what I think. Now, this is not me. This is the National Transportation Administration who keeps the statistical information on the DUI checkpoints. And they say anytime a DUI checkpoint is set up, they stop 1,000, they get 3 drunks. I want to get drunks off the road. And I know if I was part of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, I would be mad because 3 drunks, that's not enough. My solution, again, is a saturation patrol. We have deputies out here that are specially trained to go after drunk drivers. They love to go after drunk drivers. I can put 10 of them in an area. I can even post it in the paper saying we're going to have a DUI saturation patrol in this area. And what they will do is they will go out there, they'll stop people for probable cause. They won't just pull people over randomly with no cause. And if they're drunk, they'll arrest them. Most of these deputies, especially the guys that like to get drunk drivers off the road, will arrest 1 to 2 a shift if they're able to just do that and not have to do other functions. When that's what I want to do, instead of an alternative to a DUI checkpoint, would have the deputies out there that love to get drunk drivers. And we would basically know who they are, and then we would take them to do this special function from time to time instead of a DUI checkpoint. Now, again, Mothers Against Drunk Driving would probably say, you're getting 30 off the street, you're getting 20 off the street. We're happy about that. I'm sure they would be very happy instead of getting 3 off the street and violating 997 people's rights and causing litigation that we should never have to deal with. Red light cameras, people, either love them or they hate them. I have no love or hate for them. I have a disagreement with them. And what it is again, it's a Fourth Amendment problem. You have no probable cause to take that picture of that car running that red light. There's nothing that's going on except a picture being taken of someone going through a red light. And then you, as a citizen of the United States, are supposed to be able to cross-examine your accuser. How do you cross-examine a camera? This is a money-making venture, and I'm 100% against this. And I want to make sure and let everyone know, once I'm sheriff, our deputies will not write any tickets to do with red light cameras. It's ridiculous. It's a money-making venture. It causes more accidents than it helps. People trying to stop whenever they see the cameras and everything, they'll slide through an intersection and hit someone. Totally against them. Totally a violation, I think, of the Fourth Amendment. So, with that said, if you have a question about my stance on red light cameras, I'm 100% against them. When we talk about code enforcement, I always tell people about regulations in the state of California. Now, most people think that taxes are running businesses out of California. It's not. The number one thing that runs businesses out of California is overregulation. And the arm to that overregulation is code enforcement and regulatory enforcement officers. Now, as your sheriff, I can defend your rights. And I tell people, I see what code enforcement is doing, and maybe at the beginning of code enforcement, and I'm still really not sold on this, there might have been a good cause or a reason to have code enforcement. I don't see it, but this is the thing. I'm seeing code enforcement, I'm hearing about code enforcement trespassing on people's property, going into their houses, going into their backyards. If this happens when I'm sheriff, and I might only have to do this one time, I'm going to arrest a code enforcement officer trespassing if you make a complaint and it's a valid complaint that a code enforcement officer has been trespassing on your property. It's very overbearing, and I think that to go in your backyard, especially when you have signs all over the place that say no trespassing, and it's going on deaf ears. And if it's a money-making venture for the cities, I'm sorry, but you need to make sure if you're going to enforce codes to not violate people's rights when you're doing it. And that, again, when I talk about defending people's rights, it's just like the DUI checkpoints. I defend your rights by not having them. We'll never have them whenever I'm sheriff. Code enforcement, same thing. If they're stepping into your property and you've asked them to leave, they're in your backyard and you didn't invite them in there, we'll come take a report. And if it comes out that they did trespass, we'll arrest them. I'm telling you, I'm here to defend your rights. I want to make sure that you have the freedom in this county to live as a free person. I think that what's happened is the government, they're overstepping their boundaries. That's another good question. I'm a 10th Amendment sheriff. I believe in states' rights. I don't believe the federal government has the authority to be stepping into people's counties and doing things without the authorization of the sheriff. Right now, the current appointed sheriff works hand in hand on everything with the federal agents. That doesn't have to be. If I see, again, an overstep of authority, I can check the federal agents too. I'll go to the administrator of whatever federal agency, and I will discuss these problems and issues with them. And if they don't have a warrant and they're trespassing and they're doing things that's overstepping their bounds, again, we'll take a report and we'll do whatever is necessary. These are things that people have questions about. Can it be done? Again, the sheriff in his county is the most, I would say, has the most authority, especially when it comes to law enforcement, anyone in that county. It's a constitutional position. It's elected by the people. Every 4 years, you'll have the opportunity to elect that person. That's why I said at the beginning of this video, the sheriff should be elected, not selected. We keep getting selections made by the Board of Supervisors. The last person appointed, the guy that's in office now, was appointed by one Board of Supervisor, and then she took it to the board and it was voted on unanimously. One person should never choose a sheriff for a county of 2.2 million people. That's ridiculous. It's wrong. To me, it's criminal. And I truly believe that that was a violation of the law. Department of Children and Family Services, I truly believe, began with a good purpose, and that was to help protect children. And I want to protect children. But what's happened over the years is money's gotten involved. And I see the more children that's pulled out of homes, put in foster homes, it's a money-making venture. Now, when I look at this and I see children being taken out of homes for merely the only reason is to put them somewhere else, it's got to stop. Now, if the Sheriff's Department is called in and someone has made a criminal complaint about their children being taken out of their home, and there was really no reasonable or probable cause to take these children out of the home, and we investigated to find out there's a good probability that someone from the Department of Children and Family Services is going to be arrested for kidnapping. You can't use the auspice that you were doing your job, and if you took someone out of the home and there wasn't enough cause to take them out. I hear about it, and I know that we have seen Department of Children and Family Services leave kids in the home that should have never been left in those homes. And I just want to make sure that if a child is taken out of a home, that there's real reason and there's real problems in that home that's going to cause that child harm. If not, Children and Family Services need to leave the children with their family. Just to pull them out, and there's no reason to have them out of the home, I have a problem with that. And I think that we really need to relook at that system. I've seen cases where children have been taken out of the home and even warrants were issued under garbage, and children were taken out of homes just due to the fact off of hearsay. Now, again, if we have to investigate any of these cases, we're going to investigate them. And if it comes to a conclusion that some Department of Children and Family Services agent was wrong, then we are going to do what our due diligence says we need to do, and that would be make an arrest. These aren't threats. They're just things that I believe that the citizens of this county need to hear, because there are some overstepping and overreaching done through the government. And some people might not like to hear this, but I'm just going to tell you these are the right things to do. And I want to make sure that we protect the rights of the people. You know, several years ago here in the county, we actually had canine patrol in this county. And the canines would ride with the deputies. They were working deputy sheriff dogs. And the working deputy sheriff dogs would go out with their handlers and work patrol. Now, some people call them bite dogs, but I call them working patrol dogs. A few years back, the department did not want to pay the deputies to take care of the dogs outside the department, which is something that by law they're supposed to do. And so some of the deputies sued, they got their back pay, then the department punished them by taking the dogs and punished the county population by taking the dogs. The reason these dogs are so important, each dog and each handler together equals 2.5 deputies. So if you have a dog and a handler, it's equal to 2.5 deputies. It's a very money-saving part of our department. And when you look at what these canines do, it's just miraculous. Right now, we have to go to some of the smaller agencies around us and ask, can we use your dog? And I know that they're okay with it, but a lot of times we have to wait 30 or 40 minutes because they're using their own dogs, or we have to get their canine handlers out of bed or whatever. Now, the county's too big, first of all, not to have canines working patrol. I'm going to bring them back. As soon as I'm elected, I'm bringing back canines. I'm going to bring them back. I want to bring 10 on immediately. We have people in the community that would help us in purchasing these. We'll have a 401c3 group to help give private funds to help buy these canines. Now, why are they so important? First of all, just like I said, 2.5 deputies for a dog and a handler. It's a money-saving thing. Number two, it's going to cut down on litigation whenever you come into contact with people that possibly are armed in a vehicle and the deputies have to approach. I'm a dog lover. I have a couple dogs, and no way do I want a dog to get injured. But I would rather send a dog up to that car than a deputy, especially if it's armed and people aren't cooperating. Now, normally, if you tell people that you have that dog and they hear it barking, they normally comply, and that's usually about 90% of the time. So you just cut down on a force incident or a possible shooting by using that dog. And then there's other places, if you have someone inside a building, you don't want to send your deputies in there immediately because, again, end up in a shootout, either the suspect being shot or even worse, the deputies being shot or injured. You've got to have those dogs out there working patrol. It's a very important tool. Dogs are very important. And two, the thing is, when people see dogs, sometimes it can bring a calming effect to situations. And if the dog is with its handler, you can come up and pet the dog. It's a PR tool also for the department, but it is a money-saving tool for the department. And it'll make the deputies be able to do a better job, and it will give us a clear and way of getting out of some of the litigation that we've been in. So I am bringing the canines back, and if you're interested in any of the programs that I'm starting, please go to my website, and again, it's www.sheriffpaul2014.com. I decided to become a police officer or get into law enforcement years ago because there were several people that I knew that was in law enforcement, and it really interests me to go out and help people. And I know that's kind of the help people. You hear that a lot, and then you see police officers get out here and they're, arresting folks, and it seems like they're not helping people. But that was what initially drew me to the job, because when you're in a peace officer position, you can help people. You come on problems all the time, and I've always, whenever working patrol, I used to carry just a big stack of business cards, that we now I think they're required to carry. But I made sure to help people out, because sometimes I would come up on situations that were just totally crazy, but not really criminal, and it could be a little bit criminal. But even if it's you're not required to make an arrest everywhere you go. And sometimes people just need help. And I get more satisfaction out of helping people. Sometimes I get satisfaction out of arresting folks whenever, you come up in areas of crime, you're going, oh yeah, you're going to jail. But I think what really drew me to be in law enforcement was helping people. I really, it blessed me. I think it's just like myself, my family and me, we go and help people like at different missions and poor people that are needing food and things of that nature, and I feel really good about that. It's not that I feel like I'm more than them. It's just that, hey, I get to help someone, and that's what it's like being a peace officer, when you're actually able to help people in situations where they don't know where to turn or what to do. And that's really it kind of I was watching different people that were peace officers that were portraying this, and they weren't just out there enforcing the law. They were actually being peace officers, and that's what really pulled me in. I thought, wow, I can do this and get paid to help people. Some people it doesn't make a difference, but to me, a peace officer, that's exactly what it means. We're peace officers. We're to bring peace. We're sent to calls to keep peace. A law enforcement officer is to enforce the law. I'm enforcing the law. We're not called to enforce the law. We're called to keep the peace. Now, does that mean that we will enforce the law? Yes. But we come in to diffuse a situation and make sure that everyone's okay. And if it comes down to it, we will arrest someone. But we're there to help. I tell people, we are there. It would be like if you came into your household and there were problems. You want to make sure that everything's okay. And it's just like I used to tell people, younger guys, when I would work patrol, I would tell them, anyone you stop, you should treat just like your family. Make sure that you treat them well. And because sometimes people are just having a bad day. You don't know what's going on with them, and you find out. And, if it's... if they're just writing tickets just to write tickets, I don't really care for that. But sometimes you run across people that are having problems, and there's possibly you can steer them in the right direction on how to get help. I don't think we're social workers. I think we're peace officers. We're out there to keep the peace and help people. But we wear many hats, and one of them are social workers. So that's one of the many hats that we wear. But I think the part about just helping the general public, I always think of the way, kind of like Andy Griffith off of the Andy Griffith Show, whenever he was the sheriff in Mayberry, the way he helped people. I think that a lot of us really need to look at law enforcement that way, and you know, you're there to help. That's what you're there for. It's not to get out here and you know, put people in line, and you'll get a lot more respect from people. You know, I've always been fair, and you know, people would want to talk to me when I wouldn't talk to other people because they said they couldn't trust them because they felt they were treated unfairly. Where I really don't care who you are. I don't care if you've been to jail 100 times. You know, I'm still going to treat you fair. I might be a little more apprehensive and make sure you don't have any kind of weapons or something, but you know, you gain that trust and respect by treating people fair, and you know, not violating their rights. And you know, again, I you know, even though the Andy Griffith Show was a show and it wasn't real, a lot of things that you would see in that show was him trying to do the right thing with people, and you know, bringing people together. He didn't arrest everyone. You don't have to arrest everyone. Sometimes just going and talking to people, they know, okay, I can't do that anymore. You know, I'm a constitutional sheriff's candidate. And one thing about constitutional sheriff's candidate, I'm going to want my deputies to follow the Constitution. And I want them to be oath keepers. I am an oath keeper. And what's that mean? It just says I'm going to keep my oath to uphold the Constitution. And if we have deputies in situations that feel that they're being given an unlawful order, an order that violates the Constitution, I believe what they need to do, and especially if it's from their supervisor, tell the supervisor, I want my next step supervisor to come out. I can't, you know, I have a problem with this. I believe it's violating the Constitution. Now, hopefully within the first year that I'm in office, everyone in our department will have some really good constitutional training. And that's what I want to provide, to make sure that they understand, you know, this is what we're going to do. This is the policy of our department. Now, I can make policy for our department, and we can have training, and the deputies will follow that, and the supervisors will follow that. And we're going to set out policy to make sure that we are following the Constitution. And if a deputy is having a problem again, he needs to tell his supervisor, hey, I feel this is a violation of my oath, and you know, it's against the Constitution. Can we get the next line supervisor out and then discuss it? I mean, if it's a situation right now where you've got a big problem and you know, life or death situation, and this guy's second guessing his supervisor, we're going to have to, you know, that to me is going to be kind of like one of those deals that the supervisor is either going to have to say, then move out of the way and we'll get someone else up here and then deal with that later. But if it's something where the supervisor is saying, we're going to do this, this, and this, and the guy says, I can't do that because it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, something he might feel is unreasonable search and seizure. And if that supervisor says, well, I'm telling you to do it, then we'll have a policy to call another supervisor over, a second, you know, if it's a sergeant, bring a lieutenant over. So there should be a way to remedy that. If a citizen has a problem with one of the policies that we have in place, first of all, there's two ways to deal with things. If there's a complaint against something going on in the department, we will take a citizen's complaint. If it's against like something that happened to you, we will take a citizen's complaint. It's either going to exonerate the deputy, or again, it's going to take them down the road where they don't want to go. But if it's about a policy that we have, first of all, I'm going to be the most open and transparent sheriff that you've ever seen. I'm going to have a way that you can basically set up appointments, talk to me. We're going to have people in the policy area that help write these, that we can look if there's a problem and you say, hey, you know, I'd like to talk to you about your policy on whatever. we're going to be looking at everything because it's the Sheriff's Department. To me, it's part of our function is to listen to people. And if we're doing something that could be a problem, and really we don't need to be doing, it's just, again, something that's just a money-making deal, and it's not really a function that we should be involved with. I want to hear from people, but again, I'm going to have a pretty much an open door policy. We'll have to set up appointments, but we want to make sure and not leave anyone behind thinking, hey, we've got some problems here, but I've never been able to get in and see the sheriff. It's just like right now, the problems with the carry concealed weapon permits in this county. You try to go and talk to someone about it, you're not going to talk to anyone because they feel that what they're doing is right. So that to me, it just we'll have an open door policy that you'll be able to get in, and either to me or someone that makes those decisions. And hopefully, if it's about policy, it would be talking to me so that we can look and see what the problem is. Well, first of all, you're going to have some good people around you, some people that are experts in different areas to make sure that, like when it comes to budget, I've got to have a budget expert. I know a lot about budgets. I can handle a big budget. I saved the agency that I work for right now $70 million, cut out of the budget. If you have someone that works for you that can handle a budget and do the right thing, then what's going to happen is it's going to free the sheriff up to make it to the other parts of the county and be able to have the freedom to get out here and meet with the people and find out things, just what you're talking about, going to these town hall meetings. I want to make sure every Wednesday I would like to have a media day from for 2 hours. It's something that we don't have here, but it's so that the media could come in and speak to the sheriff for 2 hours and ask questions about whatever that's going on that week. Say something's going on. There's a possibility I might only be able to say, well, it's under investigation right now. I can't make a statement on it, but you're right, something is going on, but I cannot tell you particulars, so I don't, want to disrupt the what's going on with that investigation. But to do things like that and to have that openness with the people in this county, it's going to change the dynamics of how the sheriff and the community work together. We've got volunteers all over the county. We always need more volunteers. We need financial assistance. We're getting financial assistance, and we're getting a lot of like-kind services. People helping us on different things that we need for our campaign. But we need financial help. So I always tell people, go to the website. There's a PayPal button on there if they want to help. There's also an address they can send money to. If they're a printer and they want to print stuff for us, we'll take that, whatever. But we do need, either like-kind services or financial donations. Get out there and vote. Help me get elected. If you got questions, please go to my website at www.sheriffpaul2014.com, and thank you.